1 page of notes. We'll go through, we'll do all these, as many of them as we can. We should be able to get most all of them done. Questions 1 through 3, use the given statement to represent a claim. Write the HO, HA, and identify which one is the claim. So each one of these, why am I using this pen? It's not going to do much good recording it. Watch this video, Peyton. You can skip this part. It's not going to be on the test.
No, I need to remember that. Just in case, you never know. Maybe it'll be bonus.
Let me recalibrate. Your HO, your HA. Is this going to be our HO or HA? So P is less than 12. That's the claim. Make sure you tell which one's the claim. And then what's our HO? That's simple. P, remember P's proportion, mu is mean, sigma is standard deviation, sigma squared is variance. So that way if it's a word problem, you know which one you're dealing with. HO, HA, what's our HO going to be this time? U equals 5, that's the claim. Then what's our HA? U does not equal 5. Last one, our null hypothesis, our alternative hypothesis. What's our null hypothesis this time? Alternative hypothesis. Oops, what did I forget? That's right, the claim up here. We'll do that. One other thing to say on these, just to remember as we're going through the other problems, as you're doing this, remember you're looking at your HA each time. What's this tell us about our graph? It's left-tailed. This one tells us it's two-tailed. And this one tells us it's left-tailed again.
I know.
The point goes towards which side it is, whether it's left or right, and then if it's the not equal to, it's two-tailed.
I'm a bit unclear as to what determines whether HA or HO is the claim.
You always look right here. This is the claim. All right. So whatever they give you is the claim, or whatever they say in the sentence or the
Whatever
paragraph.
the sign is it?
And we look right here. If it's this, or this, that's got to be your HO.
All right.
Your HO always has the equal to part in it. Okay? So this one didn't have the equal to part, so that means we got to put this in as our HA. And then our HO is whatever the opposite of that is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Next one, problem 4. A news outlet reports that proportion of Americans, as soon as I see the word proportions there, I know we're dealing with P, so we're going to use P instead of mu or sigma or any of the rest of the stuff. Proportion of America who supports the order or to order deep cuts in executive compensation at companies that have received federal bailout funds is 62%. This tells you I probably should update my test because it was about 5 years ago or so that they gave GM and all those, or 7 years ago that they gave all them the bailouts and stuff, so I should probably update my test. But state the null and alternative hypothesis, so our HO and our HA, that's what we're going to do first here, state that each one. it says companies that receive federal bailout funds is 62%. So what's that is telling me? Equals. So it's our P equals 62%. So is that our HO or our HA? So P equals point, make sure you change it to a decimal, because otherwise your math won't come out very well. P equals 0.62, that's our claim. Then what's our HA? P does not equal 0.62. Determine a type 1 and type 2 error. I'm not really concerned about the type 1 and type 2 errors. I'm going to tell it to you. I may take this problem off the test. We'll see. Type 1 error, remember a type 1 error is you reject the null and it ends up being true. All right, so type 1 error would be we reject the 62% and it is 62%. Again, on a lot of problems, type 1 and type 2 errors don't really make a whole lot of difference. The one that we talked about when we talked about type 1 and type 2 errors at the first, about the salmonella and the chicken and stuff and people dying because of getting the salmonella poisoning, then that matters. Type 2 error is when we fail to reject, so we don't reject the 62%, and it is not 62%. Sorry, I'm writing in cursive, I forgot. Need to not write in cursive. What?
Small break.
I forgot. Get in a hurry sometimes. Determine whether the hypothesis is left-tailed, right-tailed, or two-tailed. Which one is this? Two-tailed. Can't remember, sorry.
Well, at least you're connected to the mic too, so we hear what you're saying.
So it's two-tailed. Questions 5 through 7. 5 through 7. Use the given information in the Z table to find the Z values, which are the critical values. First one, right-tailed test, and alpha is 0.01 or 1%. First thing, to answer this problem, you don't have to do this, but again, I like doing it. It's right-tailed, so that means it's over here. This way, I sort of get some idea whether I'm doing the answer right. When I'm right-tailed, I know that my critical value here should be what kind of number? Positive. Right? If it's left-tailed, like on the next one, then it's probably going to be a negative, and so on and so on. So that just gives me that idea, that sort of check myself. You're going to, since the alpha is 0.01, you're going to use the little chart that's on the very front of your charts. That one, where it says alpha, tail, and it's got the Z. So we're just going to use that.
That's 2.3.
And this is going to be our critical value, our Z. So we go to 0.01, and we want right-tailed, and what is it?
2.33.
2.33. That's our critical value. That would be that number right there. Then when we test, we can say, okay, is it on this side of 2.33 or on the right side of 2.33? Next one, this one's left-tailed. This one's a little tougher. Left-tailed, we're here. So our answer should probably be what kind of number? Negative. The reason this one's a little tougher, this isn't on the little chart. Right? So since it's not on the little chart, what you have to do, and I wanted to make sure I put one of these on here because most everything we've done these last 2 or 3 sections has all been on the charts. This one's not. What we have to do is we have to use this 0.08, this is our area. And we look up what's closest to 0.08 in the area, and then we use our big chart backwards to find the z-score. So what we're looking for on the chart, 0.0800. So we grab this chart and we look down through here, and you're going to have to help me. We want 0.0800 or something
It should be on the second page.
close
right?
to that. Should it be on the second or first?
First page, never mind, I was wrong.
You got 0.0808. Is there anything closer? There's one closer. Look directly to the left of it. This is for intervention. Thanks, sir. Because 0808 is 8 away from it. What's the one right to the left of it? 0783, that's only 7 away, right? So what's our z-score end up being? Negative 1.40, is that right? Or is it 1? 1? So negative 1.41. I would probably accept either one of those answers, so if you came up with the other one, I would probably accept either one of those answers. But remember, that's how you're using that chart if you have to use it backwards. If it's not 1%, 5%, or 10%, you're using this 0.08 as your area. Should we try another one of those just to, real quick, see if you understand it?
Yes.
All right, so let's make up an alpha that's not 1%, 5%, or 10%.
3.
0.03. So we're going to try to find 0.0300. If we're left-tailed, do we want to be left-tailed?
Let's do right.
Let's do right. So if we're right-tailed, you got to be careful. If we're right-tailed, that means we want this area to be 0.03. But remember, your chart tells you everything to the left. So when we look up this number, it's not going to be 0.03 that we're looking up. It's going to be, how much is the whole graph? 1. So it's going to be 1 minus 0.03. What is 1 minus 0.03? 0.97. So on your graph, now Peyton knows which page is this going to be on.
That's going to be on.
That's going to be on the second because it's going to be a positive. So we want what's close to 0.9700, whatever's the closest.
9699.
9699, that's real close, isn't it? So what's that z-score?
1.8.
1.8. 1.88, right? You gotta write this down and see what's matches up there, up above, 0.88, so that would be that. Again, that's not part of this assignment, just to help you. Two-tailed test. So again, if we're two-tailed, it looks like this. We shade that, we shade this. .05, this one, since it's .05, what can we do? Just look at the little chart. And we're two-tailed. So our z sub 0 is going to equal, how many answers are we going to have? 2. So it's actually just going to be the plus and minus. What is it?
1.96.
1.96. Anybody else get that? So this would be a negative 1.96 right here. This would be a positive 1.96 right there. Next one, now we get on to the problems where you actually have to do something. Notice on these, I did tell you which section on the review packet at least. On remember if I did on the test or not. U.S. Department of Agriculture claims, the mean cost of raising a child, right away mean tells us what symbol are we using? Mu. So mean cost of raising a child from birth to age 2 by a husband, wife families in rural areas is $10,380. A random sample of 500 children has a mean cost of $10,240 with the standard deviation $1,561. With a level of significance of 1%, is there enough evidence to reject the Department of Agriculture's claim? So all the information's right there. I'm not gonna write it all down again. A lot of times I'll write the information like right in this area, just so I don't have to keep looking back up the problem. Our HO and our HA.
Is.
What'd they tell us this time? So it's is, so what's is mean? Equals, so that means our mu equals 10,380. That's our claim. What's our HA gonna be then?
Does not.
Does not equal 10,380. Part B says find the critical values and the rejection region. Your paper says draw the graph. I don't know, I must got tired of typing on mine because it doesn't say draw the graph. So we're gonna draw the graph. We left-tailed, right-tailed, or two-tailed? So we're gonna draw this, shade that in, draw this, shade that in. And we gotta find our critical values. On our critical values, we can again use this little chart here because we're 0.01 and we're two-tailed, so what are they?
Plus minus 2.575.
2.575, so a negative 2.575 goes there, and a positive 2.575 goes there. Those are our rejection regions. Is everybody with me to that point?
So that's all you have to do for that?
That's all you have to do for that. Next, find a standardized test statistic. This is using the formula. Boy, that was nice of me to write in there, use the formula. This time we're looking for our Z. Our formula is right here. X bar minus mu divided by sigma divided by the square root of n. What was X bar? Since you got the paper there, you can look back up in there. 10,240. That's what the sample was, right? Minus mu was 10,380 divided by sigma. They didn't tell us sigma, but they did tell us S. So that's what we're going to use here in place of sigma. We're going to use S. 1561 divided by n was, wasn't it like 500?
500, yeah.
Square root of 500. Again, when I do this on my calculator, and your calculators might be different, you do it however is best on your calculator. Just, you might try it right now to make sure you know you're doing it right for your calculator. When I do it, I subtract the top two, hit equals, and then I hit divided by, and I have to put parentheses around this, and it's a double parenthesis with the square root because my calculator puts in an extra parenthesis. So if you try it and see, make sure you're getting whatever we're getting here.
Negative 2.00.
I think I got 2.01.
It's 0.005.
It's a 5.
Wait,
Is that not what you got, Peyton?
no, I think I must have entered something.
So go back and try this. Put in the top, subtract them.
I did that and I got
Do it again. If it's messing up, we gotta just do it again.
Negative, what'd you get?
negative 1/4.
Yep.
All right, now hit divided by. Now let me see your calculator before you go. You probably already went nuts, didn't you?
No, I didn't go nuts.
So you got the answer divided by, right?
Yes.
Put a parenthesis,
Parentheses.
then hit 1561
1561.
divided by
Divided.
second square root
Second square root.
500
500.
parenthesis,
Parentheses.
another parenthesis, same one,
Yes.
equals.
Equals. Okay, now I got negative 2.005, so negative 2.01.
Now, once we have that, and I can't do it on mine, but you can do it on yours, because you have the graph there. It was two-tailed, right? You're just gonna check to see where that falls in the graph. Does it fall in the shaded or the unshaded? Shaded? Alright, so what's that tell us? Reject.
Wait, no, it's not in the sheet.
It's not in the shaded?
It's larger.
Oh, wait, yeah.
So what's that tell us?
Failed to reject.
Fail to reject the null. So fail to reject the null because it fell in the unshaded. Does everybody have that? Because I'm going to have to erase this because there's no way I have enough room down there to write the interpretation.
Yes.
So our interpretation, I'm actually going to write our interpretation up here. Sort of stupid of me to make up this PowerPoint and not give myself room to do that. Could have moved this up a whole bunch. So our first sentence, the first part of the sentence, we say with, what was our alpha? So with a 1% level of significance, that's the first part of our sentence. Second part comes from the chart, and every one of them starts with there, so I know I always write there. We look at this chart. One with the 4 sentences on it. Was the claim our HO or HA? HO, and we failed to reject it, so we're using this sentence right here, bottom one in the first column. There is not enough evidence to reject the claim, so there is not enough evidence to reject the claim. Then our third part of the sentence ties it back to whatever the original problem said. Not enough evidence to reject the claim that the mean cost to raise a child from birth to age 2 is, what was it, 10,380? Yep.
I kept trying to get, see on my calculator, I kept getting like points here.
For which one? For C?
Yeah. And I kept like doing it how you said it.
Okay, so let's see. I'll do this real quick.
It's fine, that was a good one.
Next one, questions 9 through 11. 9 through 11, this time we're using the T-chart, we're right-tailed. Again, when I start off, I always draw my little, should be a normal curve. We're right-tailed this time, so we'll be over here somewhere. This time we're using the T table, a little different. Our alpha is 0.10, our N is 11. If we're using the T table, what's the first thing we gotta find? Our degrees of freedom, what is it this time? So we got 10 Alpha, we're right-tailed. Was there anything special we had to do on the T-table? Does anybody remember?
I just wanna look at my notes. Let me
Alright.
look, I don't get it wrong.
On the T-table, it's got one-tailed or two-tailed, right?
Yeah.
If we're right-tailed, what do we know about our value?
One.
Should be positive. So this time there is nothing special. All we gotta do is look it up using those two things. So it's 10, and make sure you use the row here that says one-tailed alpha, not the two-tailed alpha, or not the level of confidence C above it. Make sure you're using the right one. So what's that tell us? Again, I can't see the numbers.
1.363.
So our T sub 0, 1.363. Anybody else get that?
Got 1.372.
Right to the best. Oh, you're looking one. Oh wait, yeah, he is right. I was looking at it.
So what is it?
1.372.
1.372.
Two.
So that's our critical value this time.
But I thought it gave us everything to the.
No, that's the chi-squared.
That's all my chi-squared. So what about the left tail?
That's what we're getting ready to do right now.
I know, but is it the same too?
So if we're left-tailed, oh, hold on, did we do that one wrong?
Cause then it, like, let's say you have the same thing and it was left tail, it would be a different number, wouldn't it?
Oh, no, no. Okay, so on this one, let me think, did I do this wrong?
I don't know, my note, you wanna see my notes?
Yeah. What's it say in your notes? Does it say,
For the.
do we have to subtract from 1?
Would it be the small samples?
Yeah.
Doesn't say anything. Oh wait, left tailed, it says would be negative, right tailed would be positive, and two tailed would be negative and
So we don't have to do anything special.
That's all it says.
We just decide if it's positive or negative.
Alright.
All right, so this time it's left-tailed, so what do we know about our answer?
It's gonna be negative.
It's gonna be a negative. And again, our DF, what's our DF this time? So we go down to 4, over to 0.05. Remember, look in the one-tailed. What do we at?
2.015.
0.15, everybody agree with that? What'd I forget?
Negative.
It's gotta be a negative. It's gotta be a negative. Two-tailed. How many answers should we come up with this time?
Two.
Boy, that's my graph this time. That might be the worst one I've ever drawn.
That's
What's wrong with it? So we should come up with 2 answers.
That's negative.
So it's TO plus or minus. What's our DF this time?
25.
25, so go down to 25. Remember to look in the two-tailed row this time.
2.787. Yeah, that's right.
787.
Wait, for number 10, shouldn't it actually be
Yeah.
2.132?
This one's wrong again.
Yeah, we just didn't use the app, we used
Oh, we used, so we used 5 instead of 4.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad, I did. I was like, wait a minute.
Negative 2 point what?
132.
132.
I'm gonna just stop yelling at answers, everything I know is wrong, and then
More correct than the answer that I yelled out because I can't see them.
at least you're trying. More than other people.
Everybody understand all those?
Yeah.
Next one, number 12. Number 12. Fitness magazine advertises, I didn't start that again, advertises that the mean monthly cost of joining a health club is $25. You work for a consumer advocacy group Does anybody know what a consumer advocacy group is?
They care about us.
Right, they try to protect the consumer, make sure somebody's not just lying to you, and, that's what I see Peyton W. back there being at some point. He'd be one of those nuts out there throwing paint on the people wearing furs and stuff like that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Are you gonna join PETA?
It's not Ethan. Ethan's gonna be just the opposite of that, cause he's a communist. He like,
Sure.
he
I
likes
feel like he's gonna join PETA.
I can't remember his name now. The 100-year-old guy that's running for president.
It's all of them.
Burn.
Notice,
It's like
my
Ethan
wife,
Peterson's
first
going
thing
to third.
when I got home last night, she goes, they just had to report up in the Toledo, Cleveland area that there was 3 cases of this, and now we have those guys coming up here to do their rally. And she was going, then she goes, you know what? That's pretty good, because they'll probably die off before the election.
they're all
if they
dead.
get-
Well, it's like prone to like old people, so.
But now they canceled it, so.
I like how
Cancel
that's
it.
all for all of eternity.
So they're all in that same age group.
Yeah, that's true, they're all.
Mr.
Yeah, everyone's
That's just
old.
on recording now, you calling Ethan a communist.
It wasn't an opinion,
Don't
it
send
was
this to
just-
Biden, he'll probably have me hunted down. Alright, so on this, our HO and our HA, we gotta get back on track, my fault.
I would have said you can't take off my grade for that, by the way.
No, this is.
He's a communist.
50.
This is for.
Have fun.
Here, ask him.
Which one?
So like on number 6, we did, if it was right-tailed, because I wrote it down because you said it said if it's right-tailed, take 1 minus alpha. And this is for Z, so do you do that for Z and not T?
Right. Cause T's got a different kind of chart. Z's got, the Z chart has the positives and the negatives. The T chart just has the positives.
So like for chi-squared and.
For chi-squared now, you have to do it because it is a completely different chart.
Okay, so for Z and chi-squared, you have to do that like minus, like it's different, but.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
So on this, our HO, the claim that they made was, what? I can't even see it.
26.35.
No, it would be 25.
So the mean is 25,
Yeah.
right? So that's mu, and is that our HO or HA? HO because it says is $25, that's the claim. Then what's the HA? Not 25. Find the critical values and do the graph. Didn't leave myself much room here. So we one-tailed, two-tailed, left-tailed, right-tailed, what? Two-tailed. This tells us we're two-tailed. Again, we're here. We're here. This one, our N is 20. So if N is 20, that tells us that we're using the T stuff, right? Because we're small. And I even told you here to use the T table, but since you're under 20, we know we're using the T chart.
So now we gotta get the degrees of freedom, which is.
So we need the degrees of freedom, 19. So we got 19 and our alpha was 10% this time,
Yeah.
0.10. Remember to use the two-tailed thing. What's that tell us?
1.729 plus or minus 1.729.
1.729. That's a negative on this side. If I can get it to right, it won't right. There it goes. 1.729. Are we right?
Yeah.
0.10. So we have that. I'm going to actually draw this over here because we're going to use this here in a minute, right? On the next part. This is negative 1.729. This is a positive 1.729. Does everybody agree with all that?
Yeah, that's right.
Making sure some of this is right. Next thing, we gotta find our T, our test. Remember the formula for T is basically the same thing. X bar minus mu over S divided by the square root of n. I think X bar this time was at 26.25.
Yes.
That's what our sample was. Mu was 25. Sigma, what was it, like $3.23?
Yeah.
3.23, and our N was 20.
Yep. $1.73.
Yep.
Anybody else get that?
I'm about to run it through my calculator.
I literally did it exactly how you just showed me to.
Try it again. Get clear and try it again. Make sure you know how to do this on your calculators.
Do the top, write it down, and then do the bottom.
That might be
Write it
better
down.
if you're getting the wrong answer.
Look, I press enter and then I go do the other one. Wait, I didn't get it either.
If you do the top, it's like 26.25 minus 25. And then write it down. Do the bottom, write it down. And then I like that.
Last time I did it like that. I just have stupid calculator.
What'd you get, Maverick?
1.73. Two.
What's the other number after 3? 0?
Wait.
So again, what Maverick's saying is a good idea. If you're not getting this, do the top 1.25. That's what you should get. Then do everything on the bottom,
And then do it.
and then do the division. Write the two answers down, then do the division.
I did that and then I got wrong. Here's some more.
Okay, I got it now. I know what I was doing.
I got 2.4.
I wasn't dividing by the square root, I was multiplying. I forgot to put it.
He needed to bring that back to me. He was in ISD, just wanted to be out roaming the halls. Miss Peg, did you figure it out?
I don't know. I can't tell this calculator.
If you don't wanna figure out the top first, couldn't you just put the top in parentheses as well? And then just
Yeah,
come out with the same
that's how I
thing?
do it.
Yeah.
This number is just barely in the rejection region.
Alright, so we look at the rejection region and it's just barely in, so what's that tell us?
Reject.
Reject the null. We reject the null. Our interpretation. Can I just say the interpretation
Yeah.
instead of writing it down?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get to something.
So our interpretation with, what was our alpha? 0.1. So with a 10% level of significance, that's the first part. Then we go to our chart. It was the HO was the claim, right?
Yeah.
So, and we rejected it. So there is enough evidence to reject the claim that the mean monthly cost of joining a health club is $25. So I'll say it one more time, say it all together. With a 10% level of significance, there is enough evidence to reject the claim that the mean monthly cost of joining a health club is $25.
As your consumer advocate, you're welcome.
Well,
He was just sitting back there waiting for me to get done, just so he could say that. I seen it in his
I
face.
sort of was.
He was, I know you were.
15 minutes ago.
So he wasn't listening to anything that we were talking about, but
Well,
he
that's
was
why it's
ready
not-
to say what he.
That's why it's recorded.
He's my big joke.
Next one, a polling agency. A little tougher on this one. Polling agency reports that over 20% of U.S. adults are without health care coverage. I think on the other video that I made, I think I messed this one up because I couldn't read it very well. I guess I wasn't holding the paper out far enough from my face, but I went back and fixed it. So you might watch if you watch that video. Are without health care coverage. In a random survey of 1,420 U.S. adults, 256 said that they did not have health care coverage. Very first thing I would do on this one, you gotta find your P hat. All right, and P hat is the 256 out of the 1,420. Somebody change that to a decimal for us.
0.1.
So that's our P hat. Now, we'll just leave it off to the side, but we got to make sure that we know, hey, I gotta take these two, and wherever the 1,420 is, it's underneath my thing there. I gotta take these two and I gotta divide them to get my percentage for my sample. So you have to find P hat yourself, all right? The other bad thing with this one, 2% level significance. That's not one of the easy ones. So we're probably gonna have to do something with that. We'll figure that out when we get to it. Our HO. The claim they said is over 20%. So P is over 20%. What symbol is that? Greater than. So greater than 0.20. Is that our HO or our HA? That's our HA. So P is greater than 0.20. That's the claim. That means our HO is what?
Less than or equal to.
Less than or equal to 0.20. Did I say the HA wrong a second ago?
Maybe, I don't know. I just.
Hopefully nobody was paying attention.
The alphabet's blending together.
Find the critical values this time. We have this. We're left-tailed, right-tailed, or two-tailed, whatever. Right-tailed, so we're over here. Trying to find that critical value. We use our formula, Z equals, no, not a formula, what am I doing? We don't use our formula. We look at the table, I'm looking at letter C. We look at the table, this time you gotta be careful because it's not on our little table, it's not 1%, 5%, or 10%. We want this area to be 0.02. Well, our Z table tells us the area to the left. So how are we gonna find the area to the left? 1 minus that, what's it come out to be? 0.98. So we're gonna look up that on the big chart. .98, and it's going to be on the back side because it's going to be a positive. What's closest to 0.98?
19798.
So 9798, that's pretty close. What's that Z score?
2.0 or 2.05.
2.05.
Yeah.
Anybody else agree with that?
Yeah.
So that's that. That's our critical value. That's our drawing. We all right to go on?
Yes.
Next, now we do our formula. Z equals, this time it's P hat minus P over, pen quit working, square root of P times Q divided by N. Sorry, I lost train of thought there for a minute. P hat we said was what? 0.18 minus 0.20 is our P. That's a 2 there. Where's my pen? I want to work. And And then our P is 0.20. What's Q if P is 0.20?
Point
0.8. So 0.80. Remember, you just subtract from 1 to get Q there. N, how many did we have on our sample? 1,400 and some? 1,420? Again, when I do this, and again, it's going to be different on your calculator maybe, I just do the top. I know that the top's going to be negative, that's what Kevin was trying to say, it's going to be negative 0.02, right? Then I leave that in my calculator and I just hit divided by and I punch this in. But if it's not working on your calculator, then figure it out. Just see how you do it so that you know how to do it with the answer that we get here.
I got negative 1.88.
1884. Does everybody agree with that? That's what it should be.
Wait, so for me, do I need to do 3 parentheses here? Because there should be 1 negative 1.
Not really, because since this is all multiplication and division, it won't matter. So you just do 1 at the very start, then the calculator will put 1 in for you. Then you put 1 at the end here, so you're going to have 1 here and 1 there, and then another 1 at the very end. So if you just do 2 sets, it'll work out.
Okay, because I got the wrong answer.
Looking at your little graph, is that in the shaded or not shaded? So that tells us to
Failed to reject.
fail to reject the null. First part of our sentence, what was our alpha?
2%.
So with a 2% level significance, our claim was the HA this time, right?
Yeah.
So with a 2% level significance, there is not enough evidence to support the claim that
Over 20%.
over 20% of U.S. adults do not have health care. So with a 2% level significance, there is not enough evidence to support the claim that over 20% of U.S. adults do not have health care. Questions 14 through 16. Using the chi table. Right-tailed test. For the first one, our alpha is 0.01 if we're using the chi table. The first thing we got to find is our DF. What is it this time? 13. We're right-tailed. Remember, the chi table is different. For right-tailed, it's normal. You just go with the numbers that you have. Left-tailed, it's the one where we got to subtract. Two-tailed, we got to divide each one by, or divide by 2 and subtract from 1, so on and so on. So on this one, for 0.01 and our DF, what's that giving us? 688. So that's our critical value. Remember, whether it's Z, T, or chi, you put that O down there, that's showing you that it's your critical value. Left-tailed. Oops, that's right. Left-tailed's over here. Ignore that stray mark going down through there. That's the first time it's happened today. And it happens a bunch on the video. So this time, our DF again is 6. This time we don't want 0.05, we actually want the 0.95 because we have to subtract from 1 here. So we use 0.95 and the DF is 6.
It's 1.635.
squared 1.635.
It's not negative, right?
No, chi's don't have any negatives.
And then you gotta do like half.
Two-tailed, it's gonna be this part and this part. Our DF, what's our DF this time? 80. And now we do half of chi, or half of alpha, sorry. What's half of alpha? 0.05. And then we want 1 minus half of alpha, which is, if you got a nickel, how far short of $1 are you? 0.95. They always gotta add up to one whole.
So the first one should be 101.879.
101.879. And then the other one,
I think it's 106, actually. Cause you used the .025, right, in the chart?
No, 0.05.
Because that half of alpha is 0.05.
Because we're-
Alpha is 0.5.
we were
Eighty-
at 10, so we, half of
80
that.
and 0.95?
If you study something.
I got 101.879, and on this one I got
60.391?
60.391.
Yep.
Now do I have time to finish the last one?
Yep.
I'll send the other video. On the last one, look at it real quick because we only have 2 minutes. Because I want to say this, because it's sort of confusing the way they state it. Says, sets an upper limit for variance at 0.01. So it sets an upper limit at 0.01. So that means that our variance, that's our sigma squared,
Less
the,
than or equal to?
the upper limit means it's got to be less than or equal to, and I think it says 0.01, right? Yeah. Don't get this confused because the 0.01 looks like our alpha. It's not. Our alpha this time is 0.5%, because they want to be real precise. Again, that one's on the other video. I'll send both these to you.